revolution starting inside. An instrumental part of Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Counter economics. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist.
Agorist.
Agorist. Nexus. Agorist.
This is Brandon with the Agorist Nexus podcast. I've got my great co-host, Dag. How you doing, Dag?
Pretty good, man. Coming at you live from ye old podcasting shed.
Hell yeah.
Not technically live, but, they don't need to know that.
Another day in clown world, for sure. So, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into it, shout out to our sponsors, Presearch, Decentralized search engine. Don't get spied on by Google. Earn crypto as you search. Can't thank them enough. And hit our affiliate link and help us out. Show them that we're worth sponsoring. And it's just a great project overall. So,
great search engine, free crypto. Why the fuck not?
Exactly. So today we've got a World War III episode, or potential World War III scenario, and I think towards the end of it we're going to go over more of what an agorist would do during some of these scenarios. So definitely stick around for that. But why are we talking about World War III? Well, first, to start off, we've got Russia amassing troops on the Ukrainian border, and this and then we've got the Zero Hedge article that says false flag suddenly no longer a crazy conspiracy theory. And it's from Zero Hedge. They always put out a lot of great stuff. But basically all in all, they're just saying that the U.S. is saying that there's classified documents, that the Russians are going to create a false flag scenario, like maybe attack their own troops and or something of the sort, and claim that it was the Ukraine or some other allies, and so they can go to war and take over the Ukraine. That's what the U.S. is saying that they have, and it's very interesting scenario over there, and it could definitely be the start of definitely a major war, maybe even World War III, who knows. But this has all come at a very convenient time where everyone seems to be over all the COVID hysteria, and I think people are tired of all of the COVID talk. So all of a sudden it's like, let's scare them with war. So what do you got on this article, Dag?
So there's a few things, and it's just funny that of course, like whenever the U.S. is like, oh man, can you believe this country's doing X, Y, or Z? And it's like, oh, that's what you guys do all the fucking time, So, that's just always funny. What else? This is a point
the biggest hypocrites out there.
Yeah. But I love the point that he makes in this article where he's like, there's no evidence for this, but it's all over the news, right? That the media has a really good habit of just taking whatever some government official says and treating it as fact, without doing any actual investigation themselves. I don't know how the saying goes. Wasn't there some sort of saying where it's like the media is supposed to be a check on the government, And I mean, it should be, right? The media should be a check on everything, if we had a good, honest, and obviously there's a lot of really great journalists out there obviously it's not all of them, but the main news organizations are pretty terrible. But yeah, that they they just have such a history of just taking whatever some government official says, running with it, and doing us all a disservice. They just end up being a direct propaganda arm for the government. So stuff like this always reminds me of that. One thing that I like is it's like when the government's like, oh, there's going to be a false flag somewhere. It's like, oh, so you guys are about to commit a false flag. That's what you're telling us.
Yeah.
You're about to do some bullshit.
What are you guys planning?
Yeah. I'm like, get
Exactly.
ready for something. Because they already set the stage, so now everybody expects something. So if anything happens, they can pretty much play it however they want to. And hey, even if the U.S. government isn't the one who does it, if anything happens, they get to look smart, or they get to frame it however they want now, because they have this arrow in their quiver, so to speak.
And I love that point, by the way, that and that's how you can tell that the media is just really a mouthpiece for the government, is that they'll just run with stuff, even if there's no substantial evidence or there's nothing backing it. They'll just run with it. It's really just kind of like a nowadays, mainstream media is really just like a Chinese, like what Chinese media is to China, pretty much. It's everyone in China knows that the U.S. or that the mainstream media in China is propaganda for the state, and of course they're not going to say anything that goes against the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party, but yeah, so it's pretty much like the same thing now. It's the only thing in the U.S. The only thing that's different is that some people still believe that these media companies are actually, independent from the state and, reporting facts when, a lot of it is just lies and hysteria and fear mongering and propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot of the stuff I've been reading lately has been actually a lot of like history of like media and sort of instances where they do some fuckery. And I finished a book recently. It wasn't bad. I recommend it if anybody's interested, but it's called The Gray Lady Winked. And it's about like the New York Times. And they go through a lot of instances throughout history where the New York Times was directly lying, or being extremely, covering up for things. So, I mean, it's like every major tyrant, right? So like Castro, they were like, yay, Castro's this great dude, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah, he's, killed a lot of people. They were covering up for Nazi war crimes. They were covering up for the famine in, what was it, Ukraine, back in the day, all sorts of, fucked up shit like that. And in a lot of cases, like they were just whoever happened to be in control.
Yeah, the Holodomor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. They were directly covering up for that shit. Don't get me started on the Holodomor, man. Yeah, it's crazy. So it's not like it's a new thing, and it's not like it's that secret. There's a lot of instances where they were doing that, and then I mean, again, you learn throughout history where it's like, oh, whatever spy agency was doing something, they had some friends in the media that worked for a newspaper who put stories out for them or whatever. Like that shit fucking happens, dude. And whatever their reasons are, sometimes they're like, like we talk about, New World Order kind of shit a lot or whatever, but a lot of times it's not even that deep. It's like their own personal shit, or their own personal, like financial shit. Like with the New York Times, there's like one dude who like runs it at any given time. So it's like, it's not necessary. I know that they probably do work with the government and a lot of stuff, but it's not necessarily like that's always the case. Sometimes it's just whatever view he wants to put forward for whatever financial reason that helps him or whatever. So it's it's the more you learn about it, the more that it's just like, okay, you can't trust these fuckers. And then, and I know I talk about this all the time, but the game gets to be, you read the article, and by what they say, you got to try and figure out what the story actually is, like, okay, they're trying to trick you here with these words, so what's actually going on? A lot of times you can try and, get a good guess of what the actual story is. Or I just think that I know what's going on, and I think that I'm good at that. I'm actually way off. Who knows? they're probably really good at tricking me too. They've been working at this for a long time.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we've got a very good track record, so
Yeah,
but
that's true. That's true. It's not terrible.
yeah, it's not a bad track record.
So,
yeah,
and
I think
one other I'm sorry, one other thing before we branch off from this. I like that he points out in here too that they like to claim that it's cuckoo to think that false flags are even a thing. You bring up any of the false flags throughout history, and people like to think that's crazy talk.
You're a conspiracy theorist. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, when they actually put this forward like it's a thing, that's always a little funny too, because I'm sure the same news organization, what NBC or whoever, was talking about this. I'm sure they've called conspiracy theory or called people who talk about false flags conspiracy theorists in the past. I have nothing to back that up. It's just an educated guess.
Yeah.
No link in the comments.
Yeah, and to add to the infiltration of the mainstream media in the U.S., there is and we did cover this in another podcast. If you guys want to take a look at Operation Mockingbird, I mean, government has infiltrated and does control a lot of media that goes out, and a lot of these news organizations, they don't even release, they won't even release something if they don't get the go ahead from, I think it's mostly the CIA that controls.
Probably the shady motherfuckers, and then whoever's above the CIA that we don't even know exists, they're extra shady too.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of yeah. Anyways, I don't want to go there, but yeah, I think that pretty much finishes up this. Oh yeah,
the Prince Charles or Prince whoever, they were like, oh yeah, like they knew this thing was happening, but they're like, yeah, we're not going to give you access to the royal family unless you like scrub this shit. So we can all get that fucking awesome royal family drama. But I'm sorry, yeah, let's not get hung up on that nonsense. What else we got? Here?
Yeah, well, in ABC, ABC completely they were getting all of this information from I forget that main reporter, and I think another one too, and they told them, no, you can't run with this, you can't say anything about this.
Yeah,
and and we're talking about we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein here, so if you think the mainstream media has your interest, your best interest at heart, you've got to be pretty naive. So with that said, let's move on to our next article. Which one did you have in mind next, Dag? We've got some other stuff here. So yeah, and to pretty much put a cherry on top of that, all of that, war with Russia, it definitely could be a thing. And if that happens, of course you're going to see a lot of other countries jump in. So it'll be definitely interesting.
to see
how all this plays out.
Like NATO agreements and stuff, to where something happens like with Russia, like all these countries are supposed to assist each other, or something.
Yeah, I don't think. Let me Presearch this real fast, because I don't. The last time I checked, Ukraine, I don't think the Ukraine was part of NATO, but let me double check this.
So let's assume that the U.S. wants war with Russia. Okay, let's just assume that. Do we think that Russia wants war with the U.S.? They can't, right? Like, they don't have the resources for that shit. Shit, we don't have the resources for that shit. That's what I always have to wonder with all this stuff too, is how much of it is just like dangerous showboating in order to keep the military industrial complex up and running, versus how much of it is actual, geopolitical nonsense. Yeah, I don't know.
Yo, it's Jeremiah Harding, and I got some questions for you. Do you need to relax, network, vibe and become better informed about how to survive the coming disastrous economic collapse, Anarchapulco is your must-go destination in 2022. This could be your last chance to go, since the powers that shouldn't be want to lock down the entire planet with another COVID variant, and coming soon an environmental lockdown. So if you want to spend February 14th to 18th, 2022 in the sunny climes of Acapulco, Mexico, relaxing, partying, and eating great food with fellow freedom enthusiasts, feel free to head over to agoristnexus.com/ACA to sign up for your tickets today and use code NEXUS to get 10% off your entire purchase. That helps us bring you the content you deserve, and it helps you get the getaway you deserve in 2022. Now let's get back to that content.
Okay, so this says on June 12th, 2020, the Ukraine joined NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partner Interoperability Program. According to an official NATO statement, the new status, quote, does not prejudge any decisions on NATO membership, unquote. So I don't think that they're officially a part of NATO yet, but they are a part of NATO's Enhanced Opportunity Partner Interoperability Program.
Like the Ukraine, but I guess I'm just
whatever
saying,
that
like,
is.
If Russia was to go to war with the U.S., if U.S. go to war with Russia, then wouldn't because we're in NATO, right? So wouldn't all the other NATO countries have to join? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah. So I think the dominoes would fall
So
exactly like that, like you said.
You know?
Like if Russia were to do something with the Ukraine, I think the crazy thing is that they were fighting the Ukraine earlier, and they had to step back for some reason. This was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
So now
like
they're just kind of like
thing?
Yeah, the Crimea stuff. Yeah, and
the U.S.
which they own
with
now,
actual Nazis
and,
to interfere with all that.
So basically, I think Russia probably should have just taken the opportunity then to just walk in, but if they, if they wanted Ukraine, and I still think that they do, but yeah, I think the dominoes would fall exactly as you said, that if they were to go into, if Russia were to invade the Ukraine, that the U.S. would go to war with Russia, and then all of NATO would go in. So you'd see pretty much all of Europe. I think there's only a couple of countries in Europe that aren't a part of NATO. You'd see, most of Europe go to war with Russia too. So yeah, that would definitely, have a lot of countries involved for sure. And then, that would give them a lot. That would give them, that would mess up supply lines. That would kill people. I think that depopulation, it's not like there's a depopulation program written in stone anywhere, right? Oh wait, yeah, there actually is Georgia Guidestones, but yeah, and a lot of the elites, there's like all kinds of quotes where they're like, we need to depopulate the planet and stuff like that. So it's not like they don't want less people, guys. They do. So but yeah, that would give them less people, supply chain disruption, which they've been attacking our supply chains like for the last 2 years. What else? That would give them an excuse to collapse most of every fiat currency out there, which they're already doing. that would give them an excuse for, economic disaster, devastation in terms of, stocks and, lack of, everything, lack of food and everything else. So, it would give them lots of benefits too, and it would really distract people, and divide the world. Like, instead of focusing on how bad the government was during COVID, you'd focus on the evil Russians or the Chinese too. So,
Always got to be an enemy.
Yep. So, definitely radicalize people, like what happened with September 11th. After September 11th happened, the U.S. was extremely radicalized. Like, you couldn't go somewhere without seeing 36 U.S. flags and
Never forget.
Yeah, never forget. And and you couldn't even say anything bad about the military or that you didn't want war, because if you did, you were unpatriotic and shit like that. So I mean,
for your freedom.
Yeah, my so and so, is making sure you can freedom and shit like that. So yeah, it's definitely it definitely can radicalize the population and change their thought process instantly. So yeah, absolutely. What article do you want to get into next, Dag? I think we're gonna hop into China here.
Okay. Yeah, and let's see. Which one you got? I got the one about the World Economic Forum having their president. Is that what he is? He's the president? They have a president? Xi? Who?
Yeah, Xi Jinping is how I've heard it pronounced.
And he's a president? That's what they do? Okay,
he's a president.
It says president.
Yeah, president. But he's like
prime minister or some bullshit. I don't know.
Yeah, president, but he's like permanent president now. They China made him like a permanent president for life. Like he's pretty much like emperor for life, which is just crazy. But yeah, let's see.
But I mean,
are you going with the which article is it?
I've got the one where they have him at the I just said it, the World Economic Forum thing.
Is it CNBC or
CNBC, yes sir. Yeah.
Okay, the CNBC article. Okay. And the title's called China's Xi Jinping says countries must abandon Cold War mentality, warns against confrontation.
Yeah, so I thought the context I saw this in originally was somebody had posted it and, commented on, oh, look how great the World Economic Forum is for, working with China. I don't mean that like literally. I mean, like they were like, yeah, they're shitty because, China's shitty, human rights abuses, Uyghurs, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So, in that context, that's true. But what else would we expect, than evil people to flock together, But yeah, he talks about, not wanting Cold War, which, is fine. I mean, I don't want that either, but, obviously.
Yeah, he says
he's the president,
that he wants to move away from
I don't know what the fuck he wants.
This Cold War mentality.
I don't think they want war with the U.S. either. At least not like a fucking hot war. I don't think anybody does. Do you think so? When you talk about like a World War III or something, like, do you mean like like guns and tanks and shit, or like do you think that it's even going to be like that? Do you think it's going to be like cyber attacks and fucking economic shit and whatnot? I mean, of course, there's always a possibility. I mean, there's always going to be some sort of, conflict or whatever. That just, I mean, it can be done. I just feel like it's a big leap. You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to fuck with like the Middle East because they're still like brown and like third worldy. But it's like, when it's like China and Russia, it's like, Russia's like white people, and then China, like we do a lot of business with them. You know what I mean? Like we don't see them. I feel like the general public in the U.S. doesn't see China the same way they would look at people in the Middle East. I feel like they would look at people in the Middle East like more. Oh goddamn, this is gonna sound terrible to me. I feel like the general what have you, probably because of 9/11, it's easier to dehumanize people in the Middle East than Chinese people. I feel like we're kind of past. Obviously the U.S. had a lot of conflicts with Asian countries, in the 20th century. But I feel like that we've put the Middle East between us and Asian countries. So I feel like that's where most people would probably, have an easier time with. I don't know, man. That'd just be a big leap. Again, I'm not saying it's not possible or not saying it's not going to happen. That'd be get up in the morning and turn on the news and see that, some big thing happened between the U.S. and China, or between the U.S. and Russia. Probably more so. I'm probably more surprised with the U.S. and China, but that'd be like a holy fuck. Like this is a big deal. You know what I mean? Whereas if they just like invaded a new like Middle Eastern country they haven't invaded yet, I'd be like, yeah, of course, whatever. Not that it's okay, but it wouldn't be like big news, right? It wouldn't feel as big a news, I guess. So, yeah, I guess I'm going off my feels on all this, but yeah, man, well, that'd be crazy.
Okay, so well, to answer your question, what I would see, what I would expect to see first would be with Ukraine. It would definitely be, boots on the ground and stuff. Definitely tanks, stuff like that. Now, depending on what went down, would there be some kind of like escalation? Of course, you would see like
confined to Ukraine, though, right? Like going into Russia would be like a really big deal. But if it was in Ukraine, I could definitely see something happening there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just thinking aloud as we're going through this.
Yeah, don't cut me off, Dag. Jesus. But yeah, what you would expect to see would definitely be troops on the ground in Ukraine. We're talking, NATO, the U.S. tanks, all of it. Now, it would be hard to, predict exactly what would happen, but for sure that there would be no goods going either way. So, right. In the U.S., you would not see any vodka made in Russia. You wouldn't see, Russian-made AK-47s and, get your 3D printers out. You wouldn't see any Russian products at all. You wouldn't see any oil from Russia going to Europe, which would be very devastating to Europe. And, of course, prices would skyrocket. And I think everywhere, because they would have to be getting it from other places, which would affect, oil everywhere globally. Because there'd just be this huge demand for it all over the place. And so you would see, you definitely see, if there was war with Russia, you definitely see oil prices go up everywhere.
Russia's an oil producing country, right? Like, are they in net oil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the ones who supply Europe with all their oil.
Oh,
so,
no shit. Okay. Yeah, that's big.
So then, Europe would be getting all of their oil from other places. So yeah, it'd be huge. It'd be absolutely huge. And so that's definitely something that you'd see. And then also, depending on, depending on how both sides would have to be very careful with how they would perceive, like how they would continue to do things, because if they did something that was super fucked up, you could definitely see nukes fly in certain areas.
Yeah,
and that would be
the big fear, obviously.
Yeah, that would be very scary, because both sides have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I mean that's a world-ending event. You know what I mean? If I think if even one or two of those things fly, that's a Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, Devault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the DVault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a DVault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show. I don't know. You do hear the stories, assuming they're true about them many times that like somebody's been accidentally ordered to fire one and like, no, I'm not doing that shit. Like I'm not pushing that button.
Yeah, you push it. I'm not doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen war games.
But yeah, who knows with these order followers now? I mean, they're willing to do all, we saw the order followers during COVID, so I mean, I don't put anything past them. But
yeah, you ain't kidding.
But yeah, it would definitely be a very
all right. So
very crazy situation. So
what about China?
Now,
you foresee like how likely like boots in the ground like with like war with China? That's less likely, right?
Okay, so with China, here's what I'd see with China. So first we have to look at like Chinese culture, okay? And like the Chinese culture and pretty much like all of the like Oriental, or I mean, I don't want to say Asian, sorry.
That's a rug, okay, not a race.
Hey. I corrected my.
You did. You were on it.
Corrected my mistake there.
If you hadn't corrected yourself, I wouldn't even have like noticed or said anything. But since you did, I had to call you out on it.
Yeah. I don't want to be transphobic or anything. I don't know, or racist, whatever you want. But
oh fuck.
Yeah. But anyway, so you have to understand Asian culture, right? And so I think one of the most important things, especially when it would come to war, one of the most important things about Asian culture that I can think about is that for them, it's all about like, they can't lose face. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is like that's why you saw the tick for tack, like the petty tariff battle with Donald Trump, because everything Donald Trump did, and this is what we saw, China did it, did a tariff back. Okay, so with China, there's like this, tick for tack. It's kind of like, I'm trying to find a good way of explaining this. So if you went up to, if America said, we want to beat you up, China would have to perceive strength in everything. Like they wouldn't be, for them to say, don't beat me up would be like or to like look like a coward or to like back away without any kind of strength. That's just something that you're not going to see at all from China.
Some dude walks
because
up
they would be like losing.
You got to fight him. I mean, you can't
exactly
let that fly. Come on, man.
It's because you can't lose, like for them, especially the government, like they cannot lose face. So because if they do, they'll be perceived as weak, and yeah, lots of problems come into play in China. I mean, with China, you've got like I could go and do it all day, but you've got like the mandate from heaven, and all of that. And so anyways, so that's kind of their culture, right? So that's like embedded into them, is like they can't lose face. Gotcha. And that's like
so that's always something to be aware
that's ingrained
of when you go fucking with them.
Exactly, yeah. So to continue on, that's like the first thing that I really have to point out with China. Mm-hmm. So the scenario that I see now is that if I think if I was China, here's what I would do. I would start setting up and they've actually built entire islands to basically say, okay, these are our waters now, and and basically connect it back to China. And so if I was China, I would just keep doing that and start setting up military, naval areas and strategic places, and eventually just cover Taiwan completely, because that's really what they want, is they want Taiwan. And they're actually having border disputes with India, and they're I'll get into India and Nepal in a minute, but yeah, that's really if I was China,
stretching themselves a little thin, man.
Well, if I was China, they've got a huge military. I mean, their military is like at least 1 million. I'll look it up here in a second, or if you can look it up while I'm talking. But but anyways, so I'd basically find a way to basically invade their waters, or basically connect their waters back to the mainland slowly, and start setting up Navy military bases and things like that. And I think once they can do that, anything that the U.S. would do back would be looked at like as an aggressive stance. And then from there on out, if it escalated, I think that what China would do is say, okay, well, Taiwan is ours. The U.S. is being extremely hostile. Taiwan is ours to begin with, and they would somehow justify a preemptive strike on the U.S. That's what I would see. And to not only look strong, but to basically take the players out. And it would be kind of different, because a lot, in Russia, in the Ukraine, you'd see this major, ground war. But with the war on China, you would see a major naval fight,
So they have, to answer your question, it looks like, depending on how you look at it, they have 915,000 active duty troops, but some people claim 2.8 million soldiers, sailors, airmen, personnel. You know what I mean?
I think it is closer to 2 million. Yeah,
but then it depends on. So because when you say like active duty, so okay, so it says they have 915,000 on this Al Jazeera thing, while the U.S. has 486,000 active soldiers. But of course, active soldiers isn't total military size. So yeah, it looks like other people go by military size, which can be up to 2.8 million, which does seem like it's higher than ours as far as people. I'm not worried about something nuclear is a different story. You know what I mean? But let's put nuclear aside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I'd say I'm not worried about China invading the U.S. I'm just not, for so many reasons. But there could be obviously skirmishes, and it's almost like you were saying, a preemptive strike from China, and it's and sure that can happen, but it's I definitely. If it did happen, you probably would not be able to convince me that it wasn't a false flag. Going back to false flags, that it wasn't a false flag by the U.S. to get us into fucking war with China. Because how could you ever believe it? How could you ever believe that anything isn't a false flag? Anyhow, I feel like most big events are just false flags. I feel like shit would be a lot calmer if people would just stop false flagging shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's how all the wars get started. Fuck.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Every fucking war the U.S. has fought has been a fucking false flag has started it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of hard to perceive what is real and what is a psyop and what is not. And a lot of things are a lot of things are psyops, but that's kind of the scenario I see with China. Now, if it were to then get nuclear, it would just depend on what, what would happen next.
How far away from a major city you happen to live?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I think that the interesting dynamic here is that the Russians and Chinese have never really been like super friendly, but in the past, like 8 years, the U.S. has really pushed those two together. So if there was a skirmish with Russia, China could then use that and be like, hey, the U.S. is the aggressors here, or justify some kind of preemptive strike, for sure. So they could also use one another's scenarios as a justification for something. And, and I wouldn't even consider just Russia being the bad guy or the Chinese and the Russians being the bad guy. I'm pretty sure that, the U.S. has been the bad guy in lots of scenarios, like Vietnam. I don't want to get into all of it, but
it's a long list, brother.
But Vietnam, I guess they were helping the capitals. I don't know. They definitely shouldn't have intervened, but and then they completely botched the whole. They just wanted a war for
3 million people.
Yeah, that too. And they just wanted a war for very long periods of time. I don't want to get into all of the details, but yeah. So with China and Russia, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And, they could definitely, if one scenario happened on one side, the other one could react and say, hey, like you're, going against our friends here. Now, I do want to go to the other side of China because there is an incident. China and India are both having border. Well, the Chinese are slowly trying to take over India's territory. They're pushing through, and they're using Nepal as they're using Nepal, like they're giving Nepal stuff, and Nepal is pretty much just rolling over. I think we talked about this previously, like a year ago or something. I can't recall, but
China stuff. But I don't. Maybe we talked about China and Nepal. I don't recall anything about India, but who knows? We've done a lot of episodes.
But anyways, there was an article, and I can't remember all the details about it, but yeah, China, like Nepal is, and I don't, they're so small that they don't really have a choice. Like anything China says, they just kind of have to do it. But yeah, China is pushing up their military on that, on the, where India and China, come together, and they're basically saying, okay, this spot is ours, and they've got a whole bunch of military, and actually be like India's, and they'll just like slowly creep up. And so I think what India's had to do is like push up their military, so that they, stop this like land grab. And let me look on
they fought
on a map here,
1962
just to
over it. I didn't know that. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
Like I know that much about world history.
Yeah, India and China do not like none of the countries that border China really like China. I mean, China does not get along with any of them except
they're kind of like the Carter
except North Korea. They have, there's been tight tensions with pretty much every single country on their border. So So yeah, if you look at the Indian border where India and China touch,
I'm going to get a map out.
it's called the, oh God, I'm going to butcher it. Tar Hakand, I don't know. But yeah, even on Google Maps, it's like we don't know like exactly where the border is. You can see it. It's very interesting. And then like Nepal is pretty much forced to like Nepal doesn't really get along too well with India.
Nepal doesn't look like it has much of a choice in shit, man. It's small, right between those two big bastards.
Yeah. The only thing that kind of protects them is, or kind of helps them is their mountains.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. Look at that. You're teaching me geography.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Shit. Well, poor India. Yeah, it seems like China just doesn't like to play nice with people, huh?
So the interesting dynamic there is that India and the U.S. are friends. So, and then China's friends with Pakistan. So there's a lot, and Pakistan and India don't get along, and that's mostly like because they used to be one. Pakistan used to be part of India. They used to be one country. There's been, ever since Gandhi, there's been harsh tensions between the two, mostly because of like religion and stuff. Because India's mostly Hindu and Pakistan's mostly Islam or Muslim. But let me see. Let me double check the India Nepal relations if I remember right.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acres seeds. AgoristAcres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, India and Nepal they were at a war at one point in time too, if I remember right. Yeah, India and Nepal have had border disputes. So yeah, there's been tensions between. Yeah, my memory did serve me well. So there has been tensions between India and Nepal in the past. So you have a very interesting dynamic over there because India is allied. They are allied with the U.S. So if something were to break out between India and China, the U.S. would get involved, and then that would involve NATO and whoever else, and
busybodies.
Exactly. So, and then if the U.S. is focused on a war with China, Russia could be like, okay, we're taking the Ukraine now, or vice versa. If the U.S. is focused on Russia, China could be like, okay, well, Taiwan is ours. So,
yeah.
So it's kind of it's kind of like a double-edged sword, and this really reminds me of a I don't want to say like World War II scenario, but it kind of has its similarities because Japan was doing Japan was taking over a lot of the Pacific back in World War II, and they were very imperialistic, and kind of like China is today. And then you had Russia. Now you have Russia on the other side wanting to take Ukraine, and they actually in World War II they actually went into Poland and took half of Poland, helping not that they needed help, but they Germany and Russia both agreed to split Poland down the line, and but you're kind of seeing that. You're kind of seeing that over there, where it's kind of like the World War II scenario in terms of Germany taking over, annexing Austria and annexing Poland. You kind of have Russia over there taking over Crimea and having skirmishes with the Ukraine, and now they're building up troops to, there's no secret that they definitely want the Ukraine. I mean, there's lots of resources there. So, and the Ukraine's like a breadbasket. So, so yeah, there's no secret that they want it for sure. So it kind of has this like World War II type feel to it. Not exactly, right? Like there's not like, I don't know. I don't want to get into like the whole Nazi thing, but I mean, just the feel like, okay, there could be ground strike in Europe again, this ground war in Europe, and this naval fight in the Pacific. Like,
excuse me, it was like a lot of big like powers and like a lot of big world leaders kind of divvying up, other parts of the world, so it's something that could happen, and I could definitely agree with some of the parallels.
So, what are the other articles that you wanted to cover on this episode?
Right.
Here?
So we're gonna vaguely come back to China in a minute, but before we do that, there's this thing. This particular article is in the Center Square, Indiana. But the headline is Indiana Life Insurance CEO says deaths are up 40% among people ages 18 to 64, and that's like in the last year or two. And what's interesting about this though is that it says that these deaths aren't like COVID related, but just in general, people between 18 and 64 are like dying a lot or a lot more. So assuming he's telling the truth in this article, and I've seen it reported in other places too. I don't know if it's all from this life insurance CEO or not, but at any rate, it's to not be conspiracy about it, I could say, okay, well, just because of lockdowns and the general state of life and anxiety and this and that, people have been living more unhealthy lives. But for in like a year, like a relative, doesn't say they're relatively healthy, but let's say it's a relatively healthy 30-something-year-old, like they're not just going to die from diabetes in a year. You know what I mean? So could it just be general unhealth? Could it be like, obviously like overdoses and stuff are up a lot. Maybe people are just having shitty times or doing more reckless behavior in general, maybe car accidents. They don't have numbers for why the people are dying, which I find in itself maybe kind of weird. Like, you think they keep track of that stuff? Like, I thought they kept track of that shit. So maybe they don't want you to know that it's like blood clots and brain hemorrhages or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's, vaccine related either, but it's interesting, I guess. They're saying generally, like from COVID, like this time last year and now, it's like way less than half people are dying from COVID than were, and yet more people are dying overall. So, don't die out there, people. What do you think, man? You know a lot of people dying?
No.
Me either.
I did have there was somebody I knew that died, and they said he died of COVID, but um, and I don't want to go into like the details about it because it's like a like more it's like a family type thing. But and I don't want to like make anybody mad or anything, but I don't know. They put him on a ventilator, and I just you know I've seen a lot of negative things come from ventilators.
Yeah,
And
it's really not good.
And I think that if they came out and said, "Hey, ivermectin and all this other stuff can help treat this," I think it because they knew. There's DARPA papers that came out and said that they knew that these were treatments for SARS and
yeah, dude, that's
COVID-2 and all that.
Think to talk about that tonight, man. That was wasn't like the Project Veritas? Didn't they just come out with some shit like that too, saying that they knew that the alternative treatments worked?
Yeah, they knew about it, so they failed to save thousands of lives. And so I think that I more or less blame, well, I definitely blame for that family member's death. I personally blame the CDC and World Health Organization and Fauci, and the government. I mean, they knew that these were treatments, and they could have saved him or helped prevent his death for sure. So
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really know him very well, but he seemed like a great guy, and I wish I did know him more. But yeah, I don't want to get into it further. But may he rest in peace. And yeah,
I've allegedly had like friends of friends die of this shit, but I mean, otherwise, like death in general, I don't know. I mean, no, nothing more than usual. The usual drug overdoses and car accidents, people I know, but nothing too crazy. So anyhow, well, sorry, I didn't mean to bring that one down. Let's I got a couple other ones that I think are kind of fun. And that's just because I think smuggling is fun, or funny. That might sound better.
Absolutely.
I don't do it. It's just funny to see other things happen. So this one also goes into my food fetish. So the headline of this one is meat smugglers are out to breach U.S. borders, endangering pork industry. So apparently there's a lot of meat smuggling that goes on, and this is one of those that I always have to wonder how much of it actually occurs. But they give several examples. But yes, there's a lot of meat smuggling. I can't imagine that it's cheaper to bring meat in from other places. I think a lot of times what is happening is people are trying to get meat that isn't available here or isn't legal here for whatever reason. So that can be animals that come from like other countries. That can be particular way foods are prepared. So like there's a lot of cheeses that are illegal in the United States because they aren't pasteurized. So there's a lot of like soft cheeses and stuff that they have in Europe that aren't like legal to produce here. In some cases, I think they might be legal to import, but I don't remember 100% what the deal is with that. But yeah, because they're not pasteurized, and legally cheeses have to be pasteurized here. So I think a lot of it's instances like that, because from what I'm seeing, it's like it might be like Asian people who want particular foods they can't get over here. And then a lot of times it looks like there's stuff being brought over like the Mexican border, like they're bringing over like special bologna and stuff. Like, okay, here's one where the smugglers can just drive the illegal and dangerous meat across the Texas-Mexico border. In August 2021, CPP found 31 rolls of pork bologna, that's 350 pounds, and 2 rolls of turkey ham. Okay, I don't know what turkey ham is. You're gonna have to fill me in on that. Concealed under blankets and seats of a smuggler's car center console, and also inside a duffel bag. And there's all sorts of stories about it being smuggled in like ship containers and this and that. But yeah, smuggling meat over. What they're claiming in this article, the danger of this is that whatever pig diseases might be coming from Asia could come over here and infect the pigs over here and destroy the pork industry. But it's funny because in the headline it says endangering pork industry, and of course my instinct is because the U.S. pork producers don't want competition. They don't want cheap foreign competition of other goods that people might want. But that's not what they mean here. They mean in the sense that it'll wipe out all the hogs. I think that this is more of a case of like not quite a Freudian slip, but you know what I mean? I think the way that I'm saying it is correct, and the way they're saying it is just to cover, we got to worry about these diseases or whatever. But yeah, man, meat smuggling. And fun fact, just so you guys know, in most instances, meat smuggling is not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense. So with the 350 pounds of bologna, it was a $1,000 civil penalty. So, the relative cost of this from a legal standpoint isn't much. So I'm not telling anybody to smuggle meat, but
Yeah, if it's like the U.S. or some other country.
You're not going to prison for it. Yeah, you're not going to prison for it. So,
But if you're trying to smuggle something into like China or something, the penalty is definitely not light for sure. But
that's a nice segue.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah. Continue on, Dag. You got this.
All right. So our next smuggling article today is from China. China sentences 2 people to death for smuggling drugs to Taiwan. This one is actually pretty interesting, and of course we'll link this. This one's actually kind of interesting because it talks about some of the smuggling routes. They use boats, so I guess there's like 100 miles across something called the Taiwan Strait, where they smuggle a lot of people and goods. But this was actually 400 kilos of meth that they caught on boat. So that was pretty big. Sentencing a couple guys to death. Fucking, I'll drink one to you boys. Doing the Lord's work out there.
Yeah.
So
this beer's for you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
for sure.
Paying the ultimate price. So
yeah.
I'm not
God bless them.
I'm not a huge fan of meth, but fuck, man, if all this shit just comes down to if we didn't have a fucking war on drugs and they could just have a fucking market, you know what I mean?
Yeah, at least
the problems associated with drug abuse would be solved, or at least minimized,
Exactly.
So,
exactly. I did want to cover something real fast. I think that's all the articles we've got, right?
Yeah, that's it. I had another one where they were smuggling cocaine inside of baked bean cans, but it's nothing important. I could just read the shit all day.
From where to where? From where to where?
It was from the Caribbean to the UK. They got
nice.
They actually sealed them up inside of tin cans. But they I think their downfall was they brought the tin can sealer from the UK to the Caribbean with it and declared it in their luggage. And then they came back with sealed cans of Caribbean goods. It's like, yeah, dude, come on, man. Don't declare the can sealer on your trip over there. Like, that just seemed like poor form to me.
Yeah, it's like, what? So you sealed it. So
well,
I'm gonna have to check those cans.
Yeah, but like cans of baked beans, like not even like at least go buy a can of something that's unique to the Caribbean, like mango juice or some bullshit.
Yeah, like I canned this shit myself.
Yeah, take the label off, put it on, and say, yeah, I'm bringing back guava juice from fucking the Caribbean.
Yeah, for my own private company,
Yeah, man.
It's like, no, those are Bush's baked beans, man. Like,
yeah, who the fuck is bringing back Bush's baked beans?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh fuck!
From the Caribbean, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's all I got, dude. The floor is yours.
Okay, sweet. So it's technically yours too, because I'm gonna ask you a question here. So,
okay.
If there was some kind of World War III scenario where Russia was, Russian is pretty much Russia, China, and all their allies versus the U.S. and NATO and all their allies. What would an agorist be doing? What would a agorist be doing in those scenarios to help out? I've got a lot of my own ideas, but we'll hear yours first.
Okay, so let's say so spanning everything from us not even noticing over here all the way to we're walking around in piles of rubble because there's fucking bombs going off and all sorts of insane shit happening in North America. Then no matter what, agorists are going to be helping people or surviving or whatever, and hopefully the skills and connections and whatnot that you build from being an agorist are helping you out and helping you live a better, somewhat more secure life. But really, and I think that this is really important to remember, is it's no matter what, it's about providing goods and services to people. It's making the fucking market function. Maybe this is just the way that I see agorism, so forgive me if this is a little bit of my personal twist, but it's making the fucking market work, helping people get the goods and services that they need or desire when the government says no, you can't have it. So when suddenly we can't get all the stuff that we, dare I say, rely on from China, that's going to be a big deal. That's going to impact a lot of people's quality of life and whatnot. So anything that people can do to make that shit happen, any of these smugglers, we're reading stories about, getting shit here, or to the people of China who need stuff from us too, to survive. Fuck the governments on either side. I just care about the people who live in both places, basically equally as much. I mean, officially I say equally as much, but I guess my hometown's kind of more important to me than wherever else, if I've got to be honest. But yeah, man, just keeping the world running, dude. The unsung heroes, if you will. Making shit fucking happen. That's what I got.
Sweet, yeah. So when I think of that's a good take. So when I think of war, I think of all of the refugees that come along with it. Pretty much every war has created
displaced tons of people.
Tons, whether it's political or just regular hot wars or whatever. So ground wars, and so yeah, I always think of people, and I think whether it's helping move them to certain locations or helping them get identification or creating passport, because there's refugees today that are displaced, but they really can't do anything because they don't have paperwork, they can't go anywhere. Their lives are just miserable in these refugee camps. And when I think of a global war like this, I think that there's just going to be, absolute mayhem in terms of people trying to get to certain locations or safer locations, for whatever reason. And so whether that's, creating false government documents or, helping to peacefully transport these people to places, hiding unvaccinated under your floorboards, stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
So that's my take is, if there's anything that you can do to help the countless victims of government atrocities.
Hell yeah. Shout out refugees, man. Fucking,
yeah,
really,
they just want to create a better, they want to have a better life and for themselves. And they're trying to move into that direction, and many times governments stop them from being able to do that. I think there's still displaced. There's still Syrians in many areas of Europe that really can't even. They're stuck. They can't leave the country, but they can't do anything in the country. So it's just creating crime there. And I don't want to get too political on that side because I believe in the non-aggression principle. So if they are harming women and stuff, they should definitely be thrown in a wood chipper. But
it's a hot topic for sure sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if again, hopefully, things are, peaceful and things like that. But we have these huge governments that create, government's chaos. So we have multiple chaotic agencies, creating all of these disruptions and chaos. So it's an interesting time that we live in, and if you can help refugees somehow, some way, whether that's creating illegal documents or hiding people or whatever,
smuggling,
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that you can even make a little bit of, I want to say peacefully smuggling people because, human trafficking, human sex trafficking is something that we despise, and those people should die. But
there is actually a very technical difference between the words human smuggling and human trafficking, because they do actually mean those two separate things to differentiate the point.
Yeah. And but a lot of people get them confused. That's why I'm making
they do, and
distinction.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate is that they've sort of replaced the word prostitution with human trafficking when it comes to crime in the media. So they're really extra demonizing prostitution too by associating it 100% of the time with human trafficking when it's not. Even if it's voluntary, they call it that. So, man, fucking words.
Yeah, they changed the, they'll change the definitions of everything. So,
but yeah, good point on the refugees, dude. For real, that it really is war sucks all around. But dude, it's man, you're just some person. You're just a fucking farmer. You got your family, and you don't give a fuck about what the politicians are doing. When there's war, man, it's usually just fucking politicians fucking around. You're just some fucking dude living your fucking life. Here comes this fucking war that some fucking politicians did to help out their cronyist friends. They're destroying your fucking friends and family. They destroy your home, force you to leave. Then you have to go to some fucking other place you don't want to be. The people who are there don't want you there. It's just, man, talk about a shitty fucking situation, dude. It just sucks all around, man. It causes problems for everyone. Sorry, man. Shit's getting me fucking down.
Don't get down, Dag. Don't get down. So yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to want to go over?
No, man, I don't think so. As always, everyone, make sure you check out, all the great vendors and everything on the Nexus directory. If you want to throw a donation towards the Nexus, it's on the website as well. Fucking, I don't know, man. I can't think of any other announcements. Got some other episodes coming up. Some cool guests. We're working on it, I promise.
So we've got everything. I'm super overwhelmed, to be honest. I've got documentary and child books and what else? I'm doing the podcast, and I'm getting with the editor and the writers. We're publishing. I can't keep up with publishing all the articles that we're releasing. I can't release 5 in one day, right? I have to spread them out so that people actually care about them. But yeah, I'm busy on that side. I'm busy on all sides, so but it's great. I love it, and I don't see myself doing anything else. I just want to do the Nexus for the rest of my life, pretty much. This is what I want to do. So yeah, and if you guys want to support us, or if you just want to get to know us, please get in contact with us. You can message us anywhere, everywhere. agoristnexus.support@protonmail.com. I think that's one of our addresses. There's agoristnexus@protonmail.com. That's another one of our email address. You can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Agorist, and I don't know if you want to say your Twitter handle, but
Dagorist, I'm pretty much
at
everything.
Dagorist.
Float, Twitter. Well, actually, I guess that's the only two. I don't. I guess I'm not on a lot more. I haven't got on the Getter train yet, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, they're not about free speech, really, so I'm not really going to go that route.
I thought that was supposed to be the point.
No, no. It's more of, it's probably like a PSYOP or,
Honeypot or something.
Controlled opposite. Yeah, controlled opposite, whatever.
He's good about stuff like that.
So yeah, anyways, I've got a quote here. And it's by, I always butcher this guy's name because I never really hear it, but I've read his book. I've read one of his books. It's that Chinese guy, Sun
Tzu?
Yeah. TZU.
It's not the Art of War guy, is it?
Yeah, the Art of War guy.
Okay, yeah. I think it's, I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Sun Tez, something like that.
I think it's Sue, like Sun Tzu or something.
Yeah.
You're Chinese. Write in and tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I should know because like Chinese is my sole purpose of being on the Nexus podcast here, but
I thought you were going to say your pastor.
That's why.
So you don't speak Chinese, do you?
No, I don't. That's the only reason why I'm on the podcast, guys. Is my knowledge of my little knowledge of China. I don't even know that. I don't even feel like
it compliments my great lack of knowledge of China.
All right. So the quote is, "In the midst of chaos, there's also opportunity." Sun Tzu. And that's the guy who wrote The Art of War. Agorist Nexus out.
Peace.